Let's break it down. I'm Imran, a Middle East-based analyst, and today the big question is simple. When Washington goes America first, does it always strengthen America, or can it end up raising costs, weakening alliances, and creating more blowback than leverage? Because in early 2026, you can see this tension across multiple fronts: trade, security, diplomacy, and even information. Start with Canada. When US policy turns trade into a pressure weapon against its closest partner, it's not just a message to Ottawa, it's a shock to North American supply chains. Even the threat of extreme tariffs can ripple through factories, pricing, and investment decisions. And here's the catch. You don't only pressure the other side, you often pressure your own consumers and your own inflation. So the question becomes, is it America first or North America destabilized? Now zoom out to Greenland. Talk of pulling Greenland closer under US. Control sounds like a strategic chess move. Arctic routes, minerals, and positioning between North America and Europe. But Greenland sits inside an allied framework through Denmark. When allies feel publicly cornered, cooperation becomes political at home. And suddenly a strategic push becomes an alliance stress test. Even if the US gains leverage, it can lose trust. And trust is a currency you only notice when it's gone. Next, Iran and the Strait of Hormuz. When major naval deployments and hard warnings trade headlines, the intended message is deterrence. But deterrence has a hidden cost: miscalculation risk. In the Gulf, it doesn't take a war to create a global shock. One drone incident, one boarding, one radar mistake, and suddenly oil markets, shipping insurance, and regional security all move at once. That's why America first posture can sometimes translate into global volatility first, and volatility eventually shows up in American prices. Now, look at Taiwan. Chinese pressure around Taiwan isn't just a military story, it's an economic story. Semiconductors, shipping lanes, and supply chains sit right behind the security headlines. If policy is framed as strength, but it increases crisis frequency and tension, the downside isn't theoretical. Markets price risk, businesses delay investment, and everyone pays more for uncertainty, including Americans. Now add Venezuela. In Latin America, hardline moves often create second-order effects: political instability, economic disruption, and migration pressure. And once migration becomes a pressure valve, it doesn't stay regional. It becomes US domestic politics. So the irony is this: external pressure campaigns can feed internal stress at home. And that leads to the internal front. When federal enforcement operations produce public flashpoints, especially when official narratives collide with bystander video or local accounts, trust becomes a national security issue too. Because legitimacy is power. Lose it and everything becomes harder to govern. Policing, borders, budgets, and stability. Even the information layer is part of this. The debate around AI platforms, moderation, and censorship claims is becoming its own battlefield, because whoever controls the narrative controls what the public believes is real. And once that credibility cracks, every crisis becomes louder, faster, and harder to manage. So here's the takeaway. America first works when it builds durable advantage, stronger industry, smarter deterrence, and alliances that multiply US power. It backfires when it creates more enemies, more volatility, and more cost. Then it creates leverage. And that's the real test for 2026. Not how strong the policy sounds, but what it produces. If you want calm, fast updates with real incentives, hit like, subscribe, and share. Let's break it down.